The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was always busy. Hundreds of species from across the galaxy came here to talk, argue, and make decisions that affected billions of lives. The hall was built on a space station that floated between 3 star systems. It was meant to be neutral ground, a place where everyone was equal, but everyone knew that some species were more equal than others. Ambassador Una Park stood near the back of the human delegation section. She was a small woman with short black hair and tired eyes. She had served as Earth's representative to the Council for 7 years. In that time, she had learned many things. She had learned that the Council moved slowly. She had learned that old species looked down on young ones. And she had learned that no matter how many times humans warned them about danger, nobody listened. Today would be different. Today, humans would stop talking. The council session had been going on for 3 hours. Speaker Vorath, a tall being with gray skin and 4 arms, stood at the center podium. He belonged to the Tarathi, one of the founding species of the council. They had been traveling between stars when humans were still living in caves. Vorath liked to remind everyone of this fact. The matter of the border defense proposal is now closed, Vorath announced. His voice echoed through the hall. The council has voted. The proposal is rejected. Una closed her eyes. This was the 5th time in 2 years that the council had rejected Earth's request for help. The Vexri were coming. Every human scientist, every military expert, every intelligence officer knew it. The Vexri were a species that consumed everything in their path. They had destroyed 12 civilizations in the past 1,000 years. And now they were moving toward council space, but the council did not believe it. The Vexri were far away, they said. The Vexri had never attacked anyone important, they said. Humans were young and scared and did not understand how the galaxy worked, they said. Una opened her eyes and looked at her team. There were 20 humans in the delegation. Scientists, diplomats, military advisors. All of them had worked so hard to make the council understand. All of them had failed. She gave them a small nod. It was time. One by one, the human delegation began to stand. They did not speak. They did not make any announcement. They simply gathered their things and walked toward the exit dot. At first, nobody noticed. The council was busy with other matters. Delegates from 100 different species were talking among themselves. But then the Relari ambassador, a being that looked like a floating jellyfish, turned and saw the humans leaving. "Ambassador Park," the Relari called out. "Where are you going? The session is not over." Una stopped at the door. She turned and looked at the Relari. Then she looked at Vorath. Then she looked at all the other delegates who were now watching her. She did not say anything. She simply bowed. It was a deep bow, the kind that humans used to show respect. But there was something final about it. Something that said goodbye. Then she walked out the door. Her team followed her. The door closed behind them. The hall was silent for a moment. Then the noise started again. Delegates began to whisper to each other. What was that about? Why did the humans leave? Were they angry about the vote? Vorath made a sound that was the Tarathi version of a laugh. "It seems our young friends are upset," he said. "Perhaps they need some time to calm down. We will continue with the next item on the agenda." The council moved on. They discussed trade routes and mining rights and cultural exchanges. Nobody paid much attention to the empty seats where the humans used to sit. But Delegate Minji-O was not with the rest of the human team. She had stayed behind, hidden in an observation gallery above the main hall. She was young, only 25 years old, and this was her first assignment with the diplomatic corps. She had been told to watch and learn. Now she was watching the council pretend that nothing important had happened. Her communicator buzzed. She looked at the message. It was from Captain Tae Kang, the commander of Earth's military forces in this sector. All human ships are leaving Council space, the message said. Return to the station immediately. Do not speak to anyone. Minji felt her heart beat faster. She knew what this meant. Everyone in the human delegation knew. They had been preparing for this moment for months. Earth was done asking for help. Earth was done begging the Council to listen. Earth was going to take care of itself. She made her way through the corridors of the station. Usually, she would see other humans walking around. Engineers who maintained the station systems, doctors who worked in the medical bay, teachers who ran the school for diplomats' children. But now the corridors were empty. Every human was leaving. She reached the docking bay where the human transport ships were waiting. The bay was full of activity. Families were boarding ships. Workers were carrying boxes of equipment. Everyone moved quickly but quietly. There was no panic. This had all been planned. Yuna was standing near the main transport ship. She was talking to a young Tarathi who worked as a translator for the Council. The Tarathi looked confused and worried. But Ambassador Park, I do not understand, the translator said. Why are all the humans leaving? Did something happen? Yuna looked at him with kind eyes. Nothing happened today that has not happened many times before, she said. We asked for help. The Council said no. But this time, we have decided to accept that answer. But you will come back, yes? After a few days? After you have rested? Yuna shook her head. No, Kath, we will not come back. The translator's eyes went wide. But the Council needs you. Humans do so much work here. You fix things that break. You help species communicate with each other. We do many things that nobody notices, Yuna said. Perhaps now they will notice. She patted the translator on the shoulder and walked toward the ship. Minji fell into step beside her. Ambassador, do you think they will understand? Minji asked. Yuna was quiet for a moment. Not today, she said. Maybe not even tomorrow. But soon, something will happen that will make them remember every warning we gave. And then they will understand. They boarded the ship. Through the window, Minji could see the translator still standing in the docking bay. He looked lost and alone. The ship lifted off and flew out of the station. Minji looked back at the Great Council station. It was shaped like a flower with 100 petals. Each petal was a different section for a different species. The human petal was dark. Now, empty. She wondered how long it would take for anyone to notice. The answer came 3 days. Later, Varth was in his private office when his assistant rushed in. The assistant was breathing hard and looked scared. Speaker Varth, there is a problem. Varth looked up from his work. What kind of problem? The water recycling system on level 47 has failed. We called for human engineers to fix it, but there are no human engineers on the station. Varth frowned. Then call engineers from another species. We tried, sir. The Karathi engineers looked at the system. They said it uses human technology. They do not know how to fix it. Varth felt a small pain in his stomach. It was the beginning of worry. Then contact Earth. Ask them to send engineers. We tried that too, sir. Earth is not responding to our communications. The pain in Varith's stomach grew stronger. Over the next few days, more problems appeared. The translation software that helped different species understand each other started to malfunction. Humans had written most of that software. The medical bay ran out of certain medicines. Humans had been the ones who made sure supplies were always stocked. The food in the main dining hall became bland and boring. It turned out that human cooks had been the ones adding flavor to the meals. Small things. Tiny things. Things that nobody had noticed when they worked. But now that they were broken, everyone noticed. And then the first real crisis happened. A ship from the Nalari homeworld arrived at the station. The Nilari were a peaceful species, good at art and music but not very good at technology. Their ship had been damaged by a meteor storm, and they needed emergency repairs in the past. Human engineers would have fixed the ship in a few hours. But there were no human engineers anymore. The Karathi tried, but they did not understand human repair techniques. The Nilari tried, but their tentacles could not grip the tools properly. The Tarathi tried, but they were too proud to admit they did not know what to do. The Nilari ship sat in the docking bay for 2 weeks. By the time it was finally repaired, 3 Nilari passengers had died from injuries that could have been treated if the ship had left sooner. Varus stood in the council hall and listened to the Nilari ambassador weep. He felt something he had not felt in a very long time. He felt guilt. "We must contact the humans," he said quietly to his assistant. "We must ask them to return." "I have been trying, sir." "They will not answer." Vorith closed his 4 eyes. In his mind, he saw Ambassador Yuna's bow. That final, silent bow. He had thought it was just human drama. Now he understood. It was a goodbye. The humans had been trying to tell the council something important for years. The council had not listened. And now the humans were done talking. Far away, on the edge of council space, Captain Taekang stood on the bridge of his ship. He was looking at a star map that showed the position of Earth's fleet. Every ship had returned home. Every soldier was now protecting human worlds instead of helping the council. "Captain," one of his officers said, "we are receiving a message from Council Station. Speaker Varth wishes to speak with you." 1 month had passed since the humans left the Council Station. In that time, everything had changed. The Council used to run like a perfect machine. Problems were solved quickly. Ships were repaired. Messages were delivered. Food was good. Medicine was available. Nobody ever thought about who made these things happen. They just happened. Now everyone knew. The humans had made them happen. Vareth sat in his office and stared at the reports on his desk. Water systems failing. Communication networks breaking down. Trade ships arriving late because nobody could fix their engines. Food shortages on 3 levels of the station. The list went on and on. But these were small problems compared to what was coming. His assistant walked into the office. The young Tarathi looked tired. Everyone looked tired these days. "Speaker Vareth, the Intelligence Committee is here to see you." Vareth rubbed his 4 eyes with his 4 hands. "Send them in." 5 beings entered his office. They represented the Council's intelligence services. Their job was to watch for threats to the galaxy. For years, they had ignored human warnings about the Vexery. Now they were here to tell Vareth that the humans had been right. The leader of the group was a Karathi named Drenk. He was short and wide, with brown fur and small black eyes. He placed a datapad on Vareth's desk. "We have confirmed the human reports," Drenk said. His voice was heavy with shame. "The Vexery are moving toward Council space. They will reach the outer colonies in approximately 4 months. Vareth felt his heart stop for a moment. 4 months? The humans said we had years. The humans said we had years if we started preparing immediately. That was 2 years ago. We did nothing. Vareth picked up the datapad and looked at the information. Maps showed Veggery fleet movements. Reports described planets they had consumed. Images showed cities turned to ash and oceans turned to dust. The Vexery did not just defeat their enemies. They ate everything. Every resource. Every piece of technology. Every living thing. How many ships do they have? Vareth asked. At least 10,000. Possibly more. They move in waves. The first wave weakens the target. The second wave finishes it. The third wave consumes what remains. Vareth put down the datapad. His hands were shaking. And how many ships do we have? The intelligence officers looked at each other. None of them wanted to answer. Speaker Vorath, Drank finally said, the Council has never maintained a large military force. We relied on the humans for defense. The humans? But humans only had a small fleet. They were one of the youngest species in the Council. Yes, sir. But they were also the only species that kept their military ready for war. The rest of us, we believed that the age of conflict was over. We believed that civilized species did not need armies. Vorath stood up so fast that his chair fell over. We believed? We believed that the Vexery would simply go away. We believed that monsters who have destroyed 12 civilizations would look at us and decide to be peaceful. We believed what was comfortable to believe, sir. The room was quiet. Vorath walked to his window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, a wave of destruction was coming, and he had done nothing to stop it. Where are the humans now? He asked quietly. They have returned to their home systems. All human ships have left Council space. They are building something, but our spies cannot get close enough to see what. Building something? Yes, sir. Large structures in orbit around Earth. Defense platforms, we think. The humans are preparing for the Vexery. Vorath turned around. They knew. They always knew. And we laughed at them. He remembered a meeting from 2 years ago. Ambassador Yuna had stood in the council hall and presented evidence of Vexery movement. She had shown maps and data and projections. She had asked for resources to build a defense network. She had begged the council to take the threat seriously, and Vorath had dismissed her. He had called humans young and paranoid. He had said that the council had faced many threats over thousands of years. He had said that the Vexery were not special. Now he understood how wrong he had been. I need to speak with the humans, he said. I need to apologize. I need to ask for their help. We have tried to contact them, sir. They do not respond. Then I will go to them myself. The journey to Earth took 3 weeks. Vorath traveled on a small diplomatic ship with only a few assistants. He did not bring guards or soldiers. He wanted the humans to see that he came in peace. As his ship approached the Sol system, he saw what the humans had been building. Defense platforms surrounded every human planet. Thousands of them, each one bristling with weapons. Ships moved between the platforms in perfect formation. Sensor arrays pointed outward, watching for any threat. In 2 years. While the council did nothing, the humans had built a wall around their home. Vorath's ship was stopped at the edge of the system by a human patrol. Identify yourself, a voice said over the radio. It was cold and professional. This is Speaker Vorath of the Galactic Council. I request permission to speak with your leaders. There was a long pause. Then the voice spoke again. Hold your position. Someone will come to you. Vorath waited for 6 hours. His assistants grew nervous. They whispered about whether the humans might attack them. But Vorath told them to be calm. The humans were not like the Vexery. They did not destroy without reason. Finally, a human ship approached. It was much larger than the patrol vessels. A military cruiser, painted black and gray. It stopped next to Vorath's small diplomatic craft. A docking tube connected the 2 ships. Vorath walked through it and found himself on the human cruiser. A group of human soldiers stood waiting for him. They wore dark uniforms and carried weapons at their sides. They did not smile. At the front of the group stood Captain Tay Kang. Vorath recognized him from council records. Tay was tall for a human, with broad shoulders and a hard face. His eyes were the color of steel. Speaker Vorath, Tay said. You have come a long way. I have come to apologize, Vorath said, and to ask for help. Tay's expression did not change. Follow me? He led Vorath through the ship to a small meeting room. They sat on opposite sides of a metal table. Tay did not offer food or drink. He did not make small talk. He simply waited. Vorath took a deep breath. "The council was wrong," he said. "I was wrong. We should have listened to you about the Vexery. We should have helped you build defenses. We should have taken your warning seriously." "Yes," Tay said. "You should have. Now the Vexery are coming. In 4 months, they will reach the outer colonies. Millions of innocent beings will die. The Council does not have the ships or the weapons to stop them. That is not our problem." Vorath felt his heart sink. "Please, Captain. I know we treated you badly. I know we ignored you and mocked you and refused to help when you asked. But the people who will die are not the ones who made those decisions. They are farmers and teachers and children. They do not deserve to be consumed by monsters." Tay leaned back in his chair. His face was still hard, but something in his eyes changed. A flicker of pain, perhaps, or anger. "For 7 years, Ambassador Yuna stood in your council hall and begged for help," Tay said. "For 7 years, she showed you evidence and data and projections. And for 7 years, you laughed at her. You called her paranoid. You called humans young and foolish. You said we did not understand how the galaxy worked. I know, and I am sorry. Sorry is a word. Words mean nothing to us anymore. We used words for 7 years, and nobody listened." Vorath lowered his head. "Then what can I do? What can I offer? What will make you help us?" Tay was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood up and walked to a window. Outside, the stars were bright and cold. "The Council had everything," he said. "Technology from 1,000 worlds. Resources from 1,000,000 planets. The combined wisdom of species that have been traveling between stars for longer than humans have existed. And with all of that, you did nothing. You sat in your comfortable stations and told yourselves that bad things only happen to other people." He turned to face Vorath. "Humans do not have your technology or your resources or your wisdom. But we have something you never had. We know that bad things can happen to anyone. We know that safety is not given. It must be earned. It must be built. It must be defended every single day." Vorath looked at the human captain. In that moment, he understood something important. Humans were not young and foolish. They were old in a way that Council species had forgotten. They remembered what it meant to struggle. They remembered what it meant to fight for survival. "Will you help us?" Vorath asked again. His voice was barely a whisper. Tay did not answer right away. He looked out the window at the defense platforms that surrounded Earth. Those platforms had been built with human hands and human sweat and human tears. They had been built while the Council laughed. "I cannot make that decision," Tay finally said. "It is not mine to make, but I will take you to someone who can." He pressed a button on the wall. The door opened, and Ambassador Yuna walked in. She looked different then. Vorath remembered. Older, harder. There were lines on her face that had not been there before. Her eyes, once kind and hopeful, now held a deep sadness. "Speaker Vorath," she said. "I never expected to see you here." Vorath stood and bowed. It was the same bow that Yuna had given him 1 month ago. The bow of Far. Vorath returned to the Council station with a heavy heart. He had failed to get a promise of help from the humans. All he had was Ambassador Yuna's final words. "Pray that we have forgiven you enough to help." It was not much hope to hold on to, but it was all he had. The Council met in emergency session the day after he returned. The Great Hall was full of scared and angry delegates. News of the Vexery had spread through the station. Everyone knew that death was coming. Vorath stood at the center podium and faced the assembly. "My fellow delegates," he began, "I have returned from Earth with news. The humans have built defenses around their home systems. They are prepared for the Vexery threat, but they have not agreed to help us. The hall exploded with noise. Delegates shouted and screamed. Some cursed the humans. Some cursed Vorath. Some simply cried. Silence. Vorath yelled. The hall slowly grew quiet. This is not the time for anger or blame. The Vexery will be here in less than 4 months. We must prepare. Prepare how? Shouted the Karathi ambassador. We have no military. We have no weapons. The only species that kept a real fleet was the humans, and they are gone. Then we will build a fleet. We will arm our cargo ships. We will train our citizens to fight. In 4 months? Impossible. Perhaps, but we must try. The alternative is to give up and wait for death. I refuse to do that. The council voted to begin emergency preparations. Old ships were pulled from storage and fitted with weapons. Factories that made luxury goods were converted to make armor and ammunition. Citizens from 100 species were drafted into emergency military service. It was chaos. Nobody knew what they were doing. The Tarathi had not fought a war in 3,000 years. The Karathi had forgotten how to hold a weapon. The Rilari did not even have hands, but they tried. They worked day and night. They did everything they could, and it was not enough. Vorath knew this. Everyone knew this. But nobody said it out loud. To say it would be to admit defeat. And nobody was ready for that. Meanwhile, Vorath kept trying to contact the humans. Every day, he sent messages to Earth. He apologized. He begged. He offered trade deals and territory and anything else he could think of. The humans never responded. Every few days, he sent a personal message to Ambassador Yuna. He told her about the council's preparations. He told her about the fear and the panic and the desperate hope. He asked her to remember the good times they had shared before everything went wrong. She never responded either. Weeks passed. The Vexery drew closer. Scout ships reported seeing their fleet in the distance. Thousands of dark vessels, moving through space like a swarm of hungry insects. And then something strange happened. A Karathi spy ship, monitoring human space, sent back an unusual report. The humans were moving their defense platforms, not closer to Earth, but outward, toward Council Space. Vorath read the report 3 times. He did not understand. He called in his intelligence advisors. What does this mean? He asked them. Why would the humans move their defenses away from their home? Drenk, the Karathi intelligence chief, studied the data carefully. It could mean many things, he said. Perhaps they are testing the platforms. Perhaps they are repositioning for a better defensive angle. Or perhaps what? Drenk looked at Vorath with uncertain eyes. Perhaps they are preparing to help us after all. Vorath felt his heart beat faster. But they refused. They told me they would not help. They told you they could not make that decision. They told you to pray for forgiveness. They never actually said no. Vorath thought about this. He thought about Yuna's words. He thought about the hard look in Captain Tay's eyes. He thought about the silent bow that had started all of this. Humans were strange creatures. They said one thing and did another. They held grudges for years, then forgave in an instant. They refused to help, then helped anyway. Keep watching them, Vorath ordered. Tell me everything they do. More weeks passed. The defense platforms kept moving. Human ships were seen in areas of space they had never visited before. Supply vessels carried materials to unknown destinations. Something was happening. Then, with 2 months left before the Vexery arrived, the humans finally broke their silence. It was not a message to the council. It was an announcement, broadcast on all channels. The face of Ambassador Yuna appeared on every screen in council space. She looked tired but determined. Her voice was calm and strong. "To all beings in the Galactic Council," she said, "the Vexari are coming. You know this. We know this. We have known it for years, while you chose not to believe." She paused and took a deep breath. "We are not here to say I told you so. We are not here to gloat or to watch you suffer. We are here to tell you something important." The screen showed images. Defense platforms in orbit around Council worlds. Weapon systems hidden in asteroid fields. Shield generators buried on moons. An entire network of protection, built in secret while the Council laughed at human paranoia. "For the past 2 years, while the Council debated and delayed, we have been building," Una said. "We could not protect the entire galaxy. We did not have the resources. But we protected what we could. 12 Council worlds now have human defense systems. Not enough to stop the Vexari, but perhaps enough to slow them down." Vorath stared at the screen. He could not believe what he was seeing. The humans had not abandoned the Council. They had been saving it. "Why did you not tell us?" He whispered to the screen. "Why did you keep this secret?" As if she could hear him, Una answered, "You are probably wondering why we did this in secret. The answer is simple. We knew the Council would not approve. You would have argued about who controlled the weapons. You would have debated about who paid for them. You would have worried about human influence and human power. And while you debated and worried, the Vexari would have arrived." She smiled, but it was a sad smile. "So we did what we had to do. We built your defenses without asking permission. We protected your worlds without expecting thanks. We did it because it was right, not because you deserved it." The message ended. The screens went dark. Vorath sat in his office and stared at nothing. His assistants buzzed around him, asking questions and demanding orders. He ignored them all. The humans had been working this whole time, while the Council mocked them, while the Council ignored them, while the Council refused every request for help. The humans had quietly, secretly, built defenses for Council worlds, not because they were asked, not because they were paid, not because they expected anything in return, but simply because it was the right thing to do. Vorath finally understood. He understood why the humans had left without a word. He understood why they had refused to answer his calls. He understood why Ambassador Una had told him to pray for forgiveness. It was not punishment. It was a lesson. The Council had spent years treating humans like children, like young and foolish creatures who did not understand how the galaxy worked. But the humans understood better than anyone. They understood that in a time of danger, you protect the innocent, even if the innocent do not deserve protection. Even if they have been cruel and dismissive and blind, that was what it meant to be truly civilized. Not age, not technology, not power, just simple, basic decency. Vorath picked up his communicator and recorded a message. "Ambassador Park," he said, "I have received your announcement. I have seen what you have done for Council worlds. I do not have words to express my gratitude or my shame. You have taught me something today, something I should have learned long ago. Thank you." He sent the message. Then he stood up and walked to the Council hall. The delegates were gathered, talking in urgent voices about the human announcement. When Vorath entered, they all turned to look at him. He walked to the center podium. He stood there for a moment, looking at all the different species who made up the Council. Tarathi and Karathi and Relari and dozens of others. All of them scared. All of them confused. All of them looking to him for answers. "My friends," he said, "today we learned something about the humans. We learned that they are better than us. Not stronger, not smarter, but better, more decent, more kind, more worthy of the title civilized." The hall was silent. Nobody argued. They all knew it was true. The humans have given us a gift, Vorath continued. They have given us a chance to survive. But survival is not enough. When this crisis is over, we must become worthy of that gift. We must learn to listen to the young and the different and the strange. We must learn to help others without asking what we will get in return. We must become the council that the humans believed we could be. He looked out at the assembly. Can we do this? Can we change? For a long moment, nobody answered. Then the Relari ambassador floated forward. She was an old being, one of the oldest in the council. Her tentacles were pale and her body was small. Speaker Varth, she said, I have lived for 700 years. In that time, I have seen the council do many foolish things. I have done many foolish things myself. But I have also seen beings change. I have seen the proud become humble. I have seen the selfish become generous. I have seen the blind learn to see. She turned to face the assembly. If a species as old as mine can change, then so can we all. I vote yes. I will become worthy of the human gift. One by one, other delegates spoke. They admitted their mistakes. They promised to do better. They voted yes. By the end of the session, every delegate had made the same promise. The council would change. They would learn. They would become better. Far away. In H the Vexry arrived on a Tuesday. It was not a special day. No prophecy had predicted it. No ancient calendar had marked it. It was just an ordinary day when death came to the galaxy. The first wave hit the outer colonies. 3 small worlds on the edge of council space. Farming planets with simple people who had never hurt anyone. They died in minutes. The Vexry did not negotiate. They did not warn. They simply appeared in orbit and began their work. Their ships opened fire on the cities below. When the buildings were rubble, landing craft descended to consume what remained. By the time rescue ships arrived, there was nothing left but dust. Varth received the news in his office. He read the reports and looked at the images. Entire cities reduced to ash. Lakes boiled dry. Forests burned to black stumps. And the people. Millions of people. Gone in an instant. He had known this would happen. But knowing and seeing were different things. The reality of it hit him like a physical blow. Speaker Varth, his assistant said quietly, the council is waiting for you. Varth stood slowly. His legs felt weak. His heart felt heavy. But he was the leader of the council. He had to be strong. He walked to the council hall. The delegates were already gathered, their faces showing fear and grief. Some were crying. Some were shouting. Some just stared at nothing, unable to process what had happened. Varth took his place at the center podium. He raised his hands for silence. My friends, he said, the Vexry have arrived. The war has begun. 3 colonies are gone. More will follow. This is the truth. I will not lie to you. The hall was silent. Every being watched him, waiting for words of hope. But we are not helpless, Varth continued. The humans have given us defenses. 12 of our worlds are protected by their weapons. We have built ships and trained soldiers. We will fight. Fight. The Korathi ambassador shouted. How can we fight? The Vexry destroyed 3 worlds in one day. They have 10,000 ships. We have barely 1,000. Then we will fight with 1,000. We will fight with 100. We will fight with 10. We will fight until there is no one left to fight. Because the alternative is to surrender. And I will not surrender our people to monsters. The hall was quiet again. Then slowly, one by one, the delegates began to nod. They were scared. They were not ready. But they would fight. The next few days were chaos. Council ships rushed to defend the next target. They knew the Vexry would strike again soon. But they did not know where the answer came 3 days later. The Vexari attacked Karathi 7, a major industrial world with 40 million inhabitants. This time, the Council was ready. 1,500 Council ships waited in orbit. Behind them, hidden in the shadow of the planet's moon, were human defense platforms that the Karathi had not known existed. The Vexari arrived in force. 2,000 ships, dark and angular, weapons glowing with hungry energy. They moved in perfect formation, like a single creature with 1,000 teeth. Captain Tai Kang watched them from the bridge of his ship. He was stationed at one of the hidden defense platforms, ready to join the battle when the time was right. "Steady," he told his crew. "Wait for my signal." The Council fleet opened fire. Bright beams of energy lanced across space. Some hit their targets, but most missed. The Council ships were old, and their weapons were weak. The Vexari barely slowed down. Return fire ripped through the Council fleet. Ships exploded. Captains screamed orders. Chaos spread through the defensive line. The Karathi commander called for a retreat. His ships began to pull back. The Vexari pushed forward, eager to reach the planet below. Now, Tay said the human defense platforms came to life. Hidden weapons emerged from the shadows. Missiles screamed through space. Energy beams cut through Vexari hulls like hot knives through ice. The Vexari were surprised. They had not expected resistance. They had not expected humans. For the first time in centuries, Vexari ships began to die. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, the Vexari had lost 300 ships. The Council had lost twice that many. But Karathi 7 still stood. Its 40 million inhabitants were still alive. It was a victory. The first victory against the Vexari in 1,000 years. But it was just the beginning. The Vexari regrouped and came back stronger. They hit another world, then another. Each time, the Council fought back. Each time, the human defenses helped. Each time, the Vexari lost more ships. But so did the Council. After 2 weeks, the Council fleet was reduced to half its original size. After 3 weeks, it was down to a third. The human defenses were still strong, but they could not be everywhere at once. And the Vexari kept coming. Delegate Minji O watched the war from a human observation station. She had been sent there by Ambassador Yuna to coordinate with the human military. But really, she was there to witness. To remember. Every day, she received reports from the front lines. Ships destroyed. Worlds damaged. People killed. The numbers grew larger and larger until they stopped meaning anything. They were just numbers. But then she would see the faces. A Karathi mother holding her children. A Riwari artist painting a picture of their destroyed home. A Tarathi soldier crying for his fallen friends. The numbers became real again. On the 4th week of the war, she received a personal message from Vorath. "Delegate O," the message said, "I am sending you something that the Council has never shared with outsiders. A list of our mistakes. Every time we ignored a warning. Every time we refused to help. Every time we let people die because we were too proud or too comfortable or too blind. I want the humans to have this record. I want them to know that we understand what we did wrong. And I want them to know that we are trying to change." Minji read through the list. It was long, very long. Hundreds of entries spanning thousands of years. Plagues that could have been prevented. Famines that could have been stopped. Wars that could have been avoided. So much pain. So much waste. She forwarded the list to Ambassador Yuna. The response came an hour later. "Tell Vorath that we have received his message. Tell him that forgiveness takes time. But this is a good start." Minji sent the reply. She hoped it would give Vorath some comfort. The war continued. The Vexari pushed deeper into Council space. But something strange was happening. The Council species were working together in ways they never had before. Tarathi engineers helped. Korathi factories built weapons. Relari medical teams healed wounded soldiers from every species. Even the smallest and weakest council members contributed what they could, and the humans led them. Not officially. The humans were not part of the council anymore. But whenever there was a crisis, a human advisor was there to help. Whenever a defense needed strengthening, human engineers showed up with tools and expertise. Whenever soldiers needed training, human instructors taught them how to fight. It was not charity. It was leadership. The kind of leadership the council should have provided but never did. Captain Taekang was on the front lines of every major battle. His ship was damaged and repaired more times than anyone could count. His crew was replaced as casualties mounted. But he kept fighting. One night, after a particularly brutal battle, Vara sent him a personal message. Captain Kang, I watched you lead today's defense. Your courage and skill saved millions of lives. I know that we have no right to ask for your help after how we treated you. But I want you to know that we are grateful. Whatever happens, your name will be remembered in our histories. Tay did not respond for a long time. Then finally, he sent a short reply. Do not thank me. Thank the people who taught me that every life is worth saving. Thank the parents who showed me that helping others is not weakness. Thank the culture that told me standing by while innocents die is the greatest shame. You want to honor me? Then become the kind of people who do not need humans to save them. Become the kind of people who save others. Varath read the message again and again. He committed every word to memory. By the 5th week, the Vexery had taken 40 council worlds. But they had lost half their fleet. The war was bleeding both sides dry. Then the Vexery changed tactics. Instead of attacking defended worlds, they started hitting the weak ones. Colonies that the humans had not protected. Outposts that were too small to have defense platforms. One by one, these worlds fell. The council could not protect them all. There were simply too many. Minji watched the death toll rise. She watched council species cry and scream and beg for help. She watched and felt helpless. One day, Ambassador Yuna came to see her. The older woman looked exhausted. Her hair was gray and her face was lined with worry. But her eyes were still sharp. Minji, Yuna said, how are you holding up? Minji shook her head. I am watching everything fall apart. I am watching people die by the millions. And I cannot do anything to stop it. Yuna sat down beside her. That is not true. You are here. You are bearing witness. You are remembering. That matters more than you know. How? How does watching help anyone? Because someday this war will end. And when it does, someone will need to tell the story. Someone will need to explain why so many died. Someone will need to make sure we never forget the lessons we learned. Yuna took Minji's hand. That someone is you. You are young. You will live longer than most of us. You will carry these memories into the future. And because of you, the next generation W. The 6th week of the war began with a new kind of silence. The Vexery had stopped attacking. Their fleet had pulled back to a point in deep space, far from any council world. At first, the council celebrated. They thought they had won. They thought the Vexery were retreating. Varath knew better. He had spent too many sleepless nights studying the enemy. The Vexery did not retreat. They did not give up. They were planning something. The answer came 3 days later. Scout ships reported a massive concentration of Vexery forces. Every ship they had left, over 4,000 vessels, was gathering in one place. They were preparing for a final push. Their target was the council station itself. Varath read the report with cold fear in his heart. The council station was the center of galactic civilization. Millions of beings lived there. Billions more depended on the trade and communication that flowed through it. If the station fell, The council would collapse. Chaos would spread across the galaxy. "How long do we have?" he asked his intelligence chief. 2 days, Drank replied. "Maybe less." Vareth closed his eyes. 2 days. In 2 days, everything would end. He called an emergency meeting of the council. The delegates gathered quickly, their faces showing the fear that everyone felt. "My friends," Vareth said, "the Vexri are coming for us. They will be here in 2 days. We do not have enough ships to stop them. We do not have enough weapons. We do not have enough time." The hall was silent. Nobody argued. They all knew the truth. "I have ordered evacuation ships to begin loading civilians," Voreth continued. "We will save as many as we can, but many will not escape in time. Many will die here, on this station, when the Vexri arrive." The Rilari ambassador floated forward. Her voice was weak but steady. "Then we will die with honor. We will fight until the end. We will show the Vexri that we are not afraid." Other delegates nodded. They were scared, but they were also determined. If this was the end, they would face it with dignity. Vareth felt a strange pride. These beings, who had been so blind and so foolish for so long, were finally showing courage. It had taken the end of everything to bring it out, but it was there. "Thank you," he said. "All of you. Whatever happens, it has been an honor to serve with you." The meeting ended. Delegates returned to their quarters to prepare. Evacuation ships began to leave, carrying those who could be saved. The rest waited for death, but they did not know what was happening beyond their sensors. They did not know what the humans were doing. Minjio stood on the bridge of a human carrier ship. Around her, thousands of similar vessels were forming into a massive fleet. It was the largest gathering of human military power in history. Captain Tai Kang stood at the center of the bridge, giving orders to his crew. His face was hard and focused. This was the moment they had been preparing for. "All ships report ready," an officer announced. "We are prepared to jump." Tai nodded. He turned to look at Minji. "Delegate, oh, are you sure you want to be here for this? It will be dangerous." Minji met his eyes. "I need to see it. I need to remember it. For the future." Tai smiled slightly. "Ambassador Yuna said you would say that. She said you were stubborn. I learned from the best." The fleet jumped. Space twisted and folded around them. Stars blurred into lines of light. And then they emerged in the space near the council station. The Vexri fleet was already there. 4,000 dark ships, moving toward the station like a wave of death. They were less than an hour from their target. The human fleet appeared behind them. 5,000 ships, armed with every weapon humanity had ever built. Missiles, beam cannons, kinetic weapons. Things the Vexri had never seen before. And at the center of the human fleet was something new. Something massive. A ship larger than any vessel ever constructed by any species. It was called the Resolve, and it carried enough firepower to destroy a moon. On the council station, alarm bells started ringing. Sensors had detected the new arrivals. Delegates rushed to viewing screens to see what was happening. Vareth stared at the display. He saw the human fleet. He saw the massive flagship. He saw 5,000 ships arriving to save a station that had mocked and ignored them for years. "They came," he whispered. They actually came. The human fleet opened fire. Missiles screamed across space. Energy beams cut through the darkness. The Vexri, caught between the station and the human fleet, tried to turn and fight. But they were not prepared for this. The Resolve fired its main weapon. A beam of pure energy, bright as a sun, lanced through space and struck the center of the Vexri formation. Hundreds of enemy ships were destroyed in an instant. The battle was chaos. Ships exploded. Wreckage scattered. The Vexery fought with desperate fury, but they were outmatched. For every human ship that fell, 10 Vexery died. Captain Tay commanded from the bridge of his cruiser. His voice was calm and steady, giving orders that saved thousands of lives. Focus fire on their command ships. Take out their leaders. The rest will scatter. Minji watched from the observation deck. She saw the Vexery fleet breaking apart. She saw their ships trying to flee. She saw the human fleet chase them down without mercy. And she understood something important. This was not just a battle. It was a message. A message to the Vexery. A message to the Council. A message to everyone in the galaxy. The message was simple. Do not hurt the innocent. Because if you do, humans will come for you. They will find you. They will stop you. And they will not show mercy. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it was over, the Vexery fleet was destroyed. Every single ship. There were no survivors. No prisoners. No mercy. The council station was saved. In the Great Hall, delegates wept with relief. They hugged each other. They praised the humans. They promised to be better, to do better, to never forget what had happened here. Vorath made his way to the docking bay. A human shuttle was arriving, carrying Ambassador Yuna and Captain Tay. He wanted to be there to greet them. The shuttle landed. The doors opened. Yuna stepped out first, followed by Tay and several other officers. Behind them came Minji, her eyes red from crying. Vorath walked forward and bowed. It was a deep bow, the deepest he had ever given to anyone. Ambassador Park, he said. Captain Kang, you have saved us. You have saved everyone on this station. I do not have words to express my gratitude. Yuna looked at him with tired eyes. Stand up, Speaker Vorath. We did not come here for gratitude. Vorath straightened. Then why? After everything the council did to you, after all the years of being ignored, why did you save us? Yuna was quiet for a moment. She looked around at the station, at the delegates who were gathering to thank her, at the stars outside the windows. We did not save the council, she finally said. We saved the people. The farmers and teachers and children who had done nothing wrong. The millions of innocent beings who would have died because their leaders made bad choices. She turned to face Vorath directly. You asked me once what would make us forgive you. This is the answer. We did not forgive the council, but we could not stand by and watch innocent people die. That is not who we are. That is not who we want to be. Tay stepped forward. His face was still hard, but his voice was gentler than before. Speaker Vorath, the council has a choice now. You can go back to the way things were. You can rebuild your comfortable lives and forget the lessons you learned. Or you can change. You can become something better. Something worthy of the people who died in this war. Vorath nodded slowly. We will change. I swear it. The council will never again ignore the young, weak, or the different. We will listen. We will help. We will be the leaders that the galaxy deserves. Words are easy, Yuna said. We will be watching to see if your actions match. She turned and walked back toward the shuttle. But before she boarded, she paused and looked back. Speaker Vorath, there is one more thing. When we left the council station all those months ago, I bowed to you. It was a bow of farewell. A bow that said goodbye to everything we had hoped for. She smiled, and for the first time since Vorath had known her, the smile reached her eyes. Now I give you a different bow. She bowed again. But this time, it was a bow of greeting. A bow that said hello to new possibilities. May we meet again as friends, she said. And then she was gone. Minji stayed behind. She had decided to return to the council station. Someone needed to help rebuild. Someone needed to make sure the promises were kept. She watched the human fleet depart. thousands of ships turning and jumping away into the stars. They had come without being asked. They had saved millions of lives. And now they were leaving without demanding anything in return. That was what it meant to be human. Not the strength of their weapons or the size of their ships, but the willingness to help, even when it was hard. Even when they had every reason to say no. The Council had learned many lessons in this war. About courage. About cooperation. About the cost of ignoring those who tried to help. But the most important lesson was the simplest one. When the humans departed without a word all those months ago, the Council had instantly known they had failed. They had known it because the silence said more than any speech could. Now the humans were departing again. But this time, the silence was different. This time, it was the silence of a job well done. The silence of people who did not need praise or thanks. The silence of true strength. Minji smiled through her tears. She would remember this silence for the rest of her life.